You know, that feeling when a show just grabs the whole world. Well, Squid Game did exactly that. It just exploded online in pop culture, taking like simple childhood games and turning them into this really chilling high-stakes look and society. So today we're doing a deep dive into the complete Squid Game story. From its surprising start and that massive initial success to the darker second season and then the finale that just wrapped up our mission. Let's unpack the creative vision, those iconic visuals, and the really powerful themes that clearly hit a nerve with millions globally. Okay, so let's get into it. The origin story for Squid Game is, well, it's something else. The creator, Hwang Jun, he was apparently struggling with some serious personal debt around 2008-2009 in Korea. And he found inspiration in Japanese survival manga, things like Battle Royale, Liar Game. He actually wrote the script way back in 2009, but it sat on a shelf for a decade. People thought it was too grotesque and unrealistic. It's fascinating how that really personal struggle became something so universal, right?
Wow.
Even before it aired.
Yeah.
How do you see that origin shaping it?
Well, I think it's exactly that personal foundation that makes it so potent. He wasn't just making, another survival thriller. He was building this allegory, this kind of fable about modern capitalism, showing extreme competition as like a mirror to real life. And it was so deeply connected to the actual South Korean debt crisis.
Yeah.
I mean, when the show came out, personal debt there was over 100% of the country's GDP.
Wow.
Yeah, trapping so many people in that dirt spoon class, people who felt they had no choice but to take huge risks out of, well, desperation.
Pure desperation.
Exactly. And the genius is the irony, isn't it? Using these simple, usually non-competitive kids games for stakes that high, it's chilling.
And as that idea came together, it wasn't just the plot that hooked people, the whole look of the show.
Yeah.
It became instantly iconic. I mean, those dark green tracksuits for the players against the bright pink jumpsuits for the guards. That contrast was so striking. What was the thinking behind that and the whole set design?
Oh, the visuals were absolutely deliberate. Every element served the critique.
Yeah.
Those green tracksuits, they were inspired by 1970s Korean athletic wear, training bok, but they also directly nod to the baeksu, the white hands. That's a term for people who haven't made it financially, often on the margins.
Oh, okay.
And the pink for the guards, that shocking, almost playful color, it's this creepy contrast, right? It highlights the sort of sanitized game show feel, masking utter brutality.
Wow.
And the sets themselves, those maze-like stairs, directly inspired by M.C. Escher's impossible drawings.
Right, the ones that look like they trap you.
Exactly, representing a form of bondage. Even the tunnels between areas inspired by ant colonies, they underscore how dehumanizing it all is. And that mint green and pink color scheme everywhere, it pulls from 70s and 80s Korean schools, twisting that nostalgia.
When we talk about the games, each one felt less like just a contest and more like a twisted psychological test, didn't it? I mean, red light, green light, right at the start. Just pure, sudden, shocking violence.
Absolutely. The games weren't just about winning or losing. They were engineered to expose people under pressure. Red light, green light just immediately set that unflinching tone. Half the player's gone, bam, in this really disturbing, almost beautiful way. Then you get the Dalgona candy game. Gi-hoon licking the shape. That was such a clever, desperate moment.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Tug of War, it wasn't just about muscle. It was Player 001's strategy that saved Gi-hoon's team. Smart thinking under pressure. But for me, the marbles game, that was the real heartbreaker.
Oh, definitely.
Forcing players to betray the person they trusted most. Ji-young's sacrifice for Sabi-yak was incredibly moving. And then, of course, the massive gut punch reveal. Player 001, Oh Il-nam, the old man, the ganbu.
Their special friend?
Yeah, there's Jambu, that term for a really close friend, like a childhood buddy in games. He was the mastermind all along, just testing humanity for fun. That betrayal was just...
Wow. And this is where things get really wild. Squid Game just blew up globally. It became Netflix's biggest series ever, #1 in 94 countries. Over 142 million households watched it, 1.65 billion viewing hours in the first month. It totally smashed records, left shows like Bridgerton in the dust. But it wasn't just eyeballs, was it? The awards. That was huge, too.
Huge is an understatement. Connecting this to the bigger picture, that awards run wasn't just about Squid Game. It changed things. Oh Young-soo got a Golden Globe. Lee Jung-jae and Young Ho-yeon won SAG Awards' first Korean actors ever in those categories.
Incredible.
Then 14 Emmy nominations, first non-English show ever nominated for Outstanding Drama. And Lee Jung-jae won Best Actor. It really felt like a shift, like Hollywood finally acknowledging global storytelling in a massive way. And critics mostly loved it, praised that sharp critique of predatory capitalism. People compared it a lot to Paradise parasite.
Yeah, you can see the parallels.
Though some argued it was maybe more about fighting authoritarianism, holding on to your humanity.
And the cultural impact was just everywhere, wasn't it? Like, suddenly everyone was trying to make dalgona candy.
Oh, yeah. Dalgona sales went through the roof. Vans, slip-on shoes, too. But it went deeper. Its imagery popped up in South Korean political campaigns. Even North Korean state media used it to criticize the South's economy.
That's wild.
Calling it beastly capitalist society. It makes you think, right, what is it about this dark story that hits such a universal chord? It tapped into this global feeling of economic anxiety, feeling crushed by systems you can't control. That resonated everywhere, not just Korea. Now, there were those early claims about plagiarism, citing a Japanese film, As the Gods Will.
Right, I remember that.
But Hwang always maintained any similarities were coincidences, just drawing from the same pool of survival manga influences.
Okay, so let's jump ahead. Season 2 dropped December 2024. After that Season 1 cliffhanger, Gi-hoon's back. He's changed, and he's determined to go after the front man. And we got that big twist. The detective, Hwang Jun, he actually survived the fall. And he's still investigating, not knowing he's actually hunting his own brother, Hwang In-ho, the front man. So Season 2 brings in new characters. Who were the key additions? And I heard there was some controversy around casting.
There were, yeah. Season 2 definitely brought in new faces that added layers, and some casting choices sparked discussion. A big one was Cho Hyun-ju, a transgender woman trying to get funds for gender-affirming surgery. But the role went to a cisgender actor, Park Sung-hoon, which caused some backlash.
Right.
Hwang's explanation was that he wanted to cast a trans actor, but said it was near impossible to find someone willing in South Korea's conservative climate. He felt just having the character was an important step.
Tricky situation.
Definitely. Then there was Choi Soo-bong, nicknamed Thanos, a disgraced rapper involved in a crypto scam. That role went to T.O.P., who'd had a past marijuana conviction. Kwon defended that too, saying T.O.P. showed guts and that he was surprised the public hadn't forgiven him.
So, highlighting those tensions between creative choice and public perception, especially globally.
Exactly, balancing artistic intent with all these different cultural sensitivities.
And Season 2 gave us new games, too. I remember Six Legs, that mix of traditional games like Dakji and Gongi, and Mingle, forcing players into groups.
Ooh!
Mingle forcing players into groups. That came back in a bigger way.
Yeah, that was grim.
Kang Ae, the North Korean defector character, she was trying to sabotage it from the inside. Character-wise, Gi-hoon definitely had this darker intensity. You saw the survivor's guilt weighing on him, maybe even making him a bit controlling.
Yeah, you could feel that shift.
And Jun-ho hunting his own brother. That whole storyline added this really tragic, complex family drama angle. Season 2 still did huge numbers. 68 million views in 3 days, #1 everywhere. Even if some critics felt the pacing was a bit uneven. And we saw more global sensitivity issues like that Vietnamese boycott over a line referencing the Vietnam War. Shows how careful you have to be. Right. And then you get McDonald's Australia doing a Squid Game meal with a Dalgona challenge.
Oh no, $100,000 prize.
Yeah.
Just shows how massive the cultural footprint was.
So that brings us to the end.
Yeah.
Season 3. Just released June 27, 2025. This was it, the climax. Hwang Dong-hyuk had promised games that would show like the absolute rock bottom of human nature.
No.
Did he deliver? I hear he originally planned S2 and S3 as one long season.
That's right. Yeah, he split it because it got so big. And yes, I'd say he delivered on that promise. The final games were intense, brutal, psychologically devastating. Take keys and knives. It's like hide and seek, but deadly. Armed taggers hunting hiders who need to find keys to unlock an exit. Pure terror.
Oh my God.
Then the jump rope game. This was shocking. Jun-hee's newborn baby ended up in the game after the mother sacrificed herself. Talk about showing very intense choices.
Wow. Wow.
Loads of twists, too. Myung-gi turns out to be the baby's biological father. The VIPs start personally executing players they find distasteful. Just pure sadism. They even brought in a rule against players attacking each other, but then the players just started plotting murders instead. Desperation turning truly ugly.
And the final reveals. The character arcs. They must have been huge. I heard In-ho drops a massive bombshell on Gi-hun.
Oh, the biggest. In-ho confesses he is, Jung-il, player 001 from Season 1.
What? No way.
Yes, and admits he was killing players back in 2015 under the original Il-nam's influence. It completely reframes everything. And Gi-hun, faced with this, In-ho offers him the chance to just kill the last few players, end it, but Gi-hun refuses. He sees Sae-byuk in a vision, remembers her saying he's not a murderer. He holds on to his humanity.
That's powerful.
So, connecting that to the end, the final game is literally Squid Game, but played on dangerous heights, and Gi-hun makes the ultimate sacrifice. Before he dies, he declares, players were human, not animals. And that seems to finally break through to In-ho. As the island self-destructs, In-ho saves the baby.
So In-ho gets some redemption.
Seems like it. The VIPs escape, Jun-ho gets away, and neul too. 6 months later, we see Gyeong-suk reunited with his daughter, Neul, planning to find hers in China. Sae-byuk's brother Cheol finds his mother, some closure, and In-ho leaves the baby and all the prize money with Jun-ho. Then he goes to LA, finds Gi-hun's daughter, gives her the jumpsuit and the winnings. A sort of final act for Gi-hun.
And then, the very end, there's a hint of more.
A big hint. In-ho spots an American recruiter played by Cate Blanchett, surprise cameo.
Cate Blanchett?
Yep, playing Dakshi with some guy. The implication is clear. The games are going global, expanding, and the reviews for Season 3 seem really strong. Back to its brutal best, praised for the emotion, really cuts to the bone.
Wow. Okay, so this whole deep dive, it's taken us from one person's struggle with debt all the way to this global monster hit that forced huge conversations about inequality, humanity, what we value when the chips are really down.
Yeah, the series, for all its brutality, maybe because of it, it forces you to look inward, makes you confront uncomfortable stuff about society, sure, but also about ourselves, our capacity for good and for evil, too. Compassion and cruelty.
So as you think about this deep dive into Squid Game, maybe consider this. In a world that often feels like extreme competition, what choices would you make to stay human? How far would you go for the people you care about when every choice feels like life or death? What parts of yourself, maybe hidden parts, would come out?